And welcome to the Nug Life Podcast. As always, I am your host, Dan Wetstein, here on the Answers 42 Media Network with my co-host, Santiago Salazar, here to talk about your Nuggets. We got so much to talk about. NBA free agency has been a frenzy, but this is the first time we've all got to sit here with Santiago to talk to you all at all. So I wanted to let him talk a little bit about the Avalanche and how he enjoyed that Stanley Cup coming back to Denver.
So we just talking about it, you know, backstage or what before the show. Is this? Could we call it backstage even though it's virtual?
Sure,
We'll call
that
it
works for us.
backstage. Yeah, we were talking about it, how crazy it got though. I don't even think the Broncos parade, 5, 6 years ago was on the level that the Avalanche was. I know this is a Bronco town, but when you got guys, your captain, your team going to the crowd and handing out shots, pouring them in people's mouths, that's a different kind of party level right there. All right, I don't know if the Broncos can compete with that. Now it is, they bring more attention for sure, but I don't know if they're partying like those hockey players, man.
Yeah, man. Whoa, that was interesting. That voice just completely left my soul right there. I don't know what the heck just happened, but anyways, yes, I
Oh,
100% agree. This has become much more of a hockey town, and the Avs have become the people's champ. The
yeah,
the Broncos, this is always going to be Broncos country. We all understand that, but the Avalanche, with the type of stars they have, how young they are, and just the way that they were able to interact with the crowd and the people loved it, then yeah, they definitely endeared themselves to Denver faithful. And I think they definitely sucked up a whole lot of extra fans just from that parade. Like that, it was absolutely epic. Between Sam Gerard doing the Tebow with down in the drink at the same time, to Bo Byram almost getting ejected from his own parade. It was absolutely epic from beginning to end.
and it's messed up because you said before Byron just turned the age of 21. So how about that welcome to adulthood moment right there? Like even though you're of age, you still look like you're 15 guy. You know what I mean? The
Right.
dude looks young. He got the baby face. Kel McCarr, you see him go up there and start talking. Looks like your little brother or your little cousin. You don't imagine this is the best defenseman in the NHL, probably the best player in the NHL. If you want to make that debate, him for Austin Matthews and a couple other guys, Connor McDavid. But well deserved by this team, and hopefully the Nuggets can have their own parade uh, next season.
Yes, most definitely. Cronky, he has all of the accolades, but I would not be mad if he got just another trophy to put in that case, and that it was in Ball Arena for the other team that gets to use that rink. So, moving back from hockey to basketball, again, NBA free agency trades, it's been insane. We told y'all that this was not going to be a quiet offseason. It might not be the players we were talking about, but the Nuggets definitely got better, starting with the Will Barton and Monte Morris trade to the Wizards. First off, were KCP and Ish Smith enough of a return? Just the 2-for-2 swap, or did you expect to get more?
Well, it's funny because I remember at the end of the last week's show, you were like, "Oh, well, we missed on the Monte Morris trade topic. It was the last one of the show," and I felt like maybe we should have done it because we were
Maybe.
both we both predicted that they might be gone before this upcoming show, but we missed it. And you see what happened? I think was it Thursday or was it Thursday they got traded or Wednesday? Either
Yes, it was
or.
Thursday.
Monte Morris, will we say left because no one was just going to take Will Barton. You had to throw Monte in that package. And going to Washington, I kind of feel bad for those guys because the Washington Wizards, they don't know what the hell they're doing right now. They don't know what direction they're moving to. Monte Morris, to me, is the type of guy who should be on a contending team. Will Barton, at this point, I don't think Will cares about where he plays. He just wants to be a star. That sad. The sad truth is, you're not going to be a star, Will Barton. You're at the twilight years of your career, I would say right now. You're hitting 32, I think, in this upcoming season. And I think that what the Nuggets got in return is way more beneficial. Get KCP and Ish Smith. Ish Smith, who's been in the league for 13 years. I think this is his 12th team. But he
Yeah.
is a team guy, a glue guy, and he doesn't bounce around teams because he doesn't fit a system or whatever. He's in the league for 13 years for a reason. He just keeps bouncing around and chasing that check. But wherever he goes, he makes an impact. KCP, I mean, if you had KCP guarding Steph, Jordan Poole, or Klay Thompson, that Warriors series looks a little different.
Completely flipped on its head. I completely agree. And I don't know why my voice is
Oh
like this.
man,
Bear with me just a
you
moment, guys.
you were partying this week, huh? That Avalanche victory. Ain't nothing wrong with
Man,
it. I ain't mad at you.
right.
I ain't mad at you. It's all right.
I'm paying for it.
I
I'm
ain't mad
paying
at you,
for it.
bro.
That Jack's coming back. But no, but no, seriously, yes, I do believe that KCP and Ish were enough. The Nuggets were able to swap two solid veterans for an upgrade at the wing. You cannot tell me that Contavious Caldwell Pope is not an upgrade over Will Barton on both sides of the floor. He's a better shooter, he's a more efficient shooter, and he is a million times better defender. So, and yes, no, wow, yes, no, my tongue, everything's jacked up today. I don't know what's going on with me today.
Man,
I'm gonna get it together. I promise. I'm gonna get it together.
you got a
But
3-day hangover after the parade? A 3-day
something,
hangover?
man. Yeah, it's just screwing everything up for me now. I got no soul. I got no voice. I can't talk. I can't put words together. Words are hard, even though that's supposed to be my job. I don't know. But like I said, I'll get it together. We'll figure this out. But yes, KCP and Ish are enough. You essentially swapped wings. You got a better defender and a more efficient shooter
Oh
in
my god.
KCP. I know. I swear to God, I'm going to get it together. And then Ish Smith is going to be your third guy. He's the replacement for Austin Rivers. That's where Ish Smith is going to slide in. He's going to be that guy that in case of injury or if Jamal Murray needs a night off or Bones Highland needs a night off, he'll slide in the lineup. That's what he's going to do, and he's going to do a better job than Rivers did. Again, more efficient shooter, better defender than Rivers, and he's cheaper. Again, the same thing with KCP. He's everything that Will is, a better defender and cheaper, which is what allowed them to make some of the other moves we will be talking about here shortly.
See, I think the main biggest difference with KCP and Will Barton is, yeah, obviously the defense. KCP is on the level of All NBA almost, but I think what a bigger difference is the offensive games. Now, you look at the numbers, they kind of match up together, but KCP plays offense knowing his role. He knows he's going to be a spot up shooter. If he, gets an open drive to the lane, he'll take it. He's not going to try to get erratic points and try to force shots the way Will Barton did. How many times you see Will Barton off the dribble just chuck a shot up and with plenty of time in the shot clock? Bad decision making. KCP brings basketball IQ that Will Barton, for some reason, it disappeared a couple years back. But the upgrade of KCP is, I think, the first step, or one of the moves. We'll talk about them later on in the show. But one of the big defensive moves that Calvin Booth has addressed, and to put this team in position to make a long playoff run.
No, you're 100% correct. And speaking of Will Barton just popping up and taking bad shots, he did it a lot against the next guy we're going to talk about, and that is Bruce Brown Jr. And I know that's what you were just alluding to. That's why I went ahead and jumped into it, is that this man was the get of the free agency for Denver. We all thought that they would take these picks and trade them off to get like an OG or something of that nature, which if they did that, that would have hard capped them. But instead of making these really deft moves, getting rid of salary, swapping KCP and Ish Smith for Monte Morris and Will Barton. Wow, my God, my brain is dead today. So bringing in Bruce Brown, he shores up and gives a veteran presence to what we've screamed about, a 3-and-D wing. He is the prototype of what the Nuggets needed. So how do you view this move? How big of a move, or is it just, a good move?
Oh, this is a big move. You bring a guy who, I know the Nets got swept in the playoffs by the Boston Celtics in the first round, but Bruce Brown was essentially the third best player on that team. He averaged 14 points per game in that series. He shot, I believe, over 40% from three-point land in that series through the 4 games. Finished last season in the regular season at a 42% clip from downtown. So he obviously has improved his three-point game. He reminds me of kind of a Marcus Smart, guy who came into the league, not really a good offensive guy. He was real rusty, real raw, and he improved and developed his offensive game, and now he can knock down the three-ball. Second-round pick from Detroit, then went to Brooklyn for a couple years. But when the Nets, they didn't have an answer outside of Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, and this was post the James Harden trade. Bruce Brown was that guy to pick up some of that slack, come off the bench, and perform at a high level. So it is a big move. You bring a guy who part of that Brooklyn Nets team was your third best player after they traded James Harden, and now he's part of the Nuggets that can improve a team that was 21st defensively last year.
Yes, exponentially improved. Bruce Brown is an all NBA defender. And
Yeah,
like you said, he had an uptick every time he seems to get minutes, he gets better. In the 2 years of his career that he has had 22 minutes or less per game, shot percentage across the board goes down. When he gets anywhere between 24 and 28 minutes, they go up. He has career highs in the 2 years. He goes at 24 minutes or more a game. Just last year, he shot 40% from three, 75% from the free throw line, and 50% from the field in the second most minutes he's had in his career. And then to drive your point home about the playoffs, he went from averaging 24.6 minutes per game in the regular season to almost 35 minutes per game, and everything went up again. 56% from the field, 42% from three, 14 points per game, 2.8 assists per game, 5 rebounds per game, 80% from the free throw line. So it seems like he has a tendency to rise to the occasion. And I believe that he could be potentially the sixth man of the year next year
mm.
with the role that he'll play in Denver.
Now put this scenario. I'll give you this: if this team, this Denver Nuggets roster, 2 months ago had KCP, Bruce Brown able to guard up that backcourt of Golden State, does that game go 7 games? Because there's two
At,
games that got away from the Nuggets because of there were runs by Golden State that they'll explode, hit 12 points on you in a quick minute. And two of the games the Nuggets lost in that series, there was two sequences like that. So
yes.
answer my own question. I do believe the Nuggets would take the Warriors
Yeah.
to 7 games. I even would probably even say they might even have a chance of winning that series if you had two All NBA like defenders and these guys you picked up.
I can't argue with you at all. Like I literally have nothing on that. Like I agree. Yeah. There's there's no way that at the very least they don't give him a much better shot
Hmm.
and take him to at least 7 games. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And so, what I want to see what we do though is what's the execution going to be like? Because KCP has been inconsistent at times. He's had his Will Barton moments, but he's also a guy, like I said before, he knows he's not a star. Will Barton, in his mind, he's a star. KCP has that IQ, I think, and that awareness to know what his role is, and that he knows that what he's needed in the defensive area more than the offensive area. If he gets a wide open three, shoot it. But he's not going to be doing that Will Barton crap where you throw up a shot and
Yes.
it's 20 seconds left in the shot clock. As a Nuggets fan, you should be excited and not disappointed in any of these moves that were made by Calvin Booth.
No, not at all. Every one of these moves were beautiful. I, like you said, they transform this defense. They don't just improve it. They don't
Hmm.
just make it a little bit. They transform the
Hmm.
defense of these Nuggets. And that was the only thing missing from this squad. Even with Jamal Murray and MPJ on the sidelines, this team still scored at one of the highest clips in the league. And you're going to get both of those guys back. So it was all boiling down to we're going to score points. Can you stop anybody?
Hmm.
Well, Calvin Booth said, yeah, we're going to stop everybody because every single move he's made has been to shore up the defense, to get these 3-and-D wings, to get these all NBA defensive players like a Bruce Brown, like a KCP. Because, like you said, and I love that you brought up that point is that these guys know what it's like to play with superstars. KCP has played with LeBron. He's played with guys like that. Ish has played with guys like that. Bruce Brown has played with KD and Kyrie and all these other guys. So they know how to assimilate into a team and let it be team first and let the stars be stars while they just compensate with their own skill set. And the beauty about is if KCP's having an off night or if Bruce Brown's having an off night, you can pretty much swap them around. And if one's and you can just ride the hot hand. And even if both of those guys are off, you got Christian Brown sitting on the bench as a young kid hungry to get some minutes. You got Bones Highland, you got Uncle Jeff, all these other role players that will play their role. That was the number one bugaboo with Will Barton. He
Hmm.
would never play his role. He never stayed in his lane because he always thought he was the next Kobe.
Hmm. Garden snake. Not no black
Yes.
mamba. He's a garden snake.
Yes.
And so
That is,
the
set him up, knock him out.
move him out. And then I think as a fan though, your favorite move at a fandom point has to be Ish Smith. Getting Ish Smith on his 12th team is kind of like in baseball when teams will get Bartolo Colon, the guy who bounced from every team to every team, but he was a freaking good player. When he had his short tenure with your team, he put in numbers. Now, Ish Smith isn't an all-star kind of player, but he can hit the Jets. He's the type of guy that you put him on the floor with that second unit, they're still going to put points on the board. The offense won't be stagnant. It's a big pickup. I don't know if he's going to play with this roster. I don't know if he's going to make the roster because, we still have a lot of guys, a lot of holes, a lot of time from the beginning of the season. So if Ish Smith makes the roster, I see him maybe as a third string point guard because Bones has that backup
Yeah.
point guard spot when Jamal comes back. And I don't know how important a third string point guard is in this league, especially when your two point guards are Jamal Murray and Bones Highland, two young guys who definitely have the stamina left in them. So what's cool for Ish Smith, and I hope that he does make the final roster. I'm sure as hell pulling for him. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, I do believe Ish makes it, and exactly what you said. He's going to be that third point guard. He's Austin Rivers' replacement. Like
Yeah,
he closes the door on Austin Rivers. He's that guy that when Jamal or Bones either need a break or they need a night off, or Lord forbid they get hurt, he's going to slide in
yeah.
and take up that backup role. Same thing with and like KCP and Bruce Brown, they're going to slide in on the wing, and I think that they're going to be more fluid. Like a lot of people are kind of pinning in KCP as the new starter, replacing Will Barton. I don't think it's that simple. I do
Mhm.
believe that it will be fluid depending upon matchups and things of that nature, not only at the start of the game, but as the game flows and ebbs. I do believe Malone is going to play a lot of chess with those two pieces. He's going to ride the hot hand when one of them is maybe shooting better than the other, or one's even just playing defense better than the other, and he needs the defense more than he needs the offense. So I think that position is going to be a lot more fluid.
Mhm.
But Ish Smith, he's going to be set in that third point guard role, and then speaking of guys that are going to slide in and have to pick up a new role, the guy that a lot of people have been pulling for, great story, Davon Reed. He finally gets that full on standard 2-year contract. No more two ways, no more G League, no more Summer League. Davon Reed is a part of this roster. What changes for Reed as he is converting from those two-way deals into this standard two-year contract?
Well, first of all, hell of a job by Davon Reed. I'm happy for him. This is a guy who played for Indiana and Phoenix a while back, and he stayed out the league for nearly almost full 3 years, jumping around from G League team to G League team. Obviously, he always wanted to be an NBA player. He never went overseas. He kept it with the G League, rode it through, and now he's getting that. Well, I don't know if it's fully guaranteed contract, but it's not a two-way. You kind of solidify your position on the team, your part on this roster, at least for now. And so, unless one of these other rookies flourish and they make it hard on Calvin Booth and decide who he wants to keep. But for now, Davon Reed getting that contract that will guarantee him a roster spot. He's a spark kind of guy. He plays good defense. He's not the best defender, but if you need him for a couple of defensive sequences, you can throw him in there for a good 5 to 10 minutes against the other team's best players. Now, if it's Kevin Durant on the other side, but you need to rest Aaron Gordon, who's going to be guarding KD night in and night out. Whenever that matchup occurs and Aaron Gordon can't go, you throw a Davon Reed in there for that scenario, for that situation. He can knock down the three ball. He's another kind of 3-and-D player who I don't know if he benefits from playing a lot of minutes. I think he benefits more just for those little 10 to 12 minutes a night, and that's where he flourishes the best. So having another bench guy who can help the Nuggets on a nightly basis is a big key important thing, because we all know that in that second row, when Joker hit that bench, no Jamal, no MPJ, we knew that second unit. How many 20-point leads did the Nuggets give this year just because Jokic was on the bench and the second unit gave up all, let the other team come back in. Davon Reed is one of those guys who's going to help that second unit and run with them and at least score some points. The same how I mentioned Ish Smith.
Yeah. So you do believe that his role is going to expand. You just don't think he's going to get like a super big, like enough to be considered like maybe a sixth man or something like that. Just more of that bench player, steady presence. I
Yeah,
got you.
just a typical role player. I think for him to be that sixth man, he still has a lot of proving to do. Um,
Yes.
he didn't play a whole lot last year, but when he did get his time to play, he played ball, and he deserved every penny of the contract that he got. And so that's why I think he's a part of this team. When they called upon him, he answered. Even if it was for a very small, substantial amount of time, he answered the call when they needed him.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct on that. It does seem like both in college, like we don't really know in the NBA because he's only been in the NBA for 3 years and he really hasn't gotten that many minutes on the three squads he's been on, which are Phoenix, Indiana, and now Denver. But in college, as his minutes went up, pretty much everything went up with it: points per game, shooting percentage, free throw percentage, etc. It all kind of went up. And last year, he got his most minutes, 13.9 minutes per game, as opposed to 11 and a half minutes his 1 year in Phoenix, and 4.7 minutes per game in the 10 games he got in Indiana. He by far had the most games. Before last year, the most games he had was 21 games played. He got into 48 games last year for the Denver Nuggets, had career highs in field goal percentage at 50%, 3-point percentage at 43%, only averaged 4.4 points, but also 2.3 rebounds, an assist, and a steal, and 0.2 blocks per game. So he's definitely productive when he's on the floor. Whether or not that continues as you expand his role, again, we don't know. But it seems like these Miami boys and their defense, they be bringing it. So as long as he's bringing it on the defensive end, where he showed like his biggest things was he's got really good hands.
Yeah.
They're not quite on the level of like a Draymond Green or somebody like that, but he's got really fast hands. He's really good at steals and creating quick transition points. So if he can keep that up, even in just a slightly more expanded role, I think he'll prove great dividends as a 6'5" small forward on this roster. So I do see him expanding his role and increasing his efficiency and production as a result of those extra minutes. So I really like the fact that he was able to fight through for 3 years, going back and forth, summer league, G League, bouncing on and off rosters, and then just came in and, like you said, when he was called on, answered the bell and earned that 2 year contract.
Well, the definition is starting from the bottom, because last year when the Nuggets brought him on, he got a 10-day contract. All right, he did
Yep.
good. Got a second 10-day. Then he got his third 10-day, and then after that, he got that two-way deal where he was jumping back and forth from the Grand Rapids Gold to the Nuggets, and now he got that. That I don't know how you'd put it. What kind of contract would you put it? A guaranteed contract?
Standard. It's just called a
Standard. This
standard
is standard.
contract.
All right. Yeah, we got that
And it is
standard contract
guaranteed.
that locked him a roster spot. So good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a fully guaranteed contract, so he's locked in.
Yeah.
Unless he ends up becoming a trade piece, which I don't think he has enough value to be worrying about him being traded. And also, I think he provides more value, especially after Will Barton, JaMychal Green, and all of them being moved out. He's like one of maybe 2 or 3 true small forwards on the roster. So I think just the fact that he needs to be on the roster guarantees it, not let alone the fact that it's fully guaranteed.
Yeah. Oh, it's another hole. I think it was one of those players that deserved to come back. Will Barton and Monte. I don't think they were the ones that. I mean, well, at least for Monte, he didn't think that we're gonna let him go. But if we need to improve this roster, he's one of the players. Like on that block. Davon Reed, I'm pretty sure that everyone was almost guaranteed. He deserved to come back if he wanted to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Davon Reed earned it. I think him and DeMarcus Cousins were the two guys I wanted back the most. I just love the way that the team seemed to play with Davon Reed and DeMarcus Cousins on the court at the same time, especially when, the starters were off the court. It just seemed there was a different energy with him and Bones and Boogie. It was just fun to watch them. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to see him get back here. We all know Bones is coming back and he's going nowhere. So speaking of whether or not Boogie comes back, DeAndre Jordan got a 1-year minimum deal. Does that eliminate Boogie as a target, or do you think they can still fit him in on the roster? And what do you think of the DeAndre Jordan deal?
Now this is the move where I was a little iffy about. Every other move we've talked about previously, we've had a lot of high praise on it, a lot of good things to say. And I'm not saying that DeAndre Jordan, I got nothing good to say about the move. Either way you look at it, if you look at it as a bad move or a good move, I think you find yourself right in the middle of it. DeAndre Jordan's obviously a few years removed from his Lob City days. He's not the big high flyer as he used to be. He's more of a pick and roll guy. When I get to the basket, I might be 7 foot, but I'm laying this thing up. I don't feel like dunking it. He's far removed from
Got
those
them old
days.
man knees.
Yeah, but last week when we talked about the second round pick Ishmael for the Nuggets, we talked about rim protection. That's what DeAndre Jordan brings. He brings rim protection, even though he's old and his hops have left him a little bit. He still can block some shots. He was one of the best shot blockers of his time when he was in his prime, has a career average of 1.5 blocks per game. So, like I said, either way you look at it, whichever way, if it's a bad or a good move, it's an average move. But I would rather keep DeMarcus Cousins just because DeMarcus Cousins is a 3-level scorer when he's on the offensive side. Now, he's not the most efficient three-point shooter, but he can knock down a midi. He has beautiful post work, beautiful footwork in the post. DeAndre Jordan has nothing more than a pick and roll game on that offensive side.
I got you. So do you think it completely shuts the door to Boogie, or do you still see a way for Boogie to make his way on this roster?
Um, I don't know how DeMarcus Cousins is taking it. He might see it in a way like, oh wow, they might have want to go a different direction for the backup center, at least in his eyes. I think from a management standpoint, though, is bring whoever you can in, and whoever performs the best is going to get the job. Now, I don't know if DeMarcus Cousins is going to sign a qualifying offer with the Nuggets or go to a different team. But if the Nuggets can bring Boogie back on a good amount of money, at least something that's affordable, I would bring him back and have those two guys compete. I wouldn't keep both of them just because it would probably be unnecessary to do it to keep both of them. But I know DeAndre Jordan is a locker room guy, so he does it. I guess nowadays instead of dunking, he does a lot of cheering on the bench. So if we can sign him for that role and just keep him like that for the rest of the year, then that's maybe what we'll have to do.
To me, I don't believe I'm with you. I don't believe it completely closes the door,
Yeah,
but I do see more of a value to having both of them than I think you do. Because as you were speaking on DeAndre Jordan, the man's never shot less than 59% from the field in his entire career. Never less than 59. He's not a 3-point shooter. I think he's like averaged like maybe a half of a 3-pointer per season. Like
yeah,
he doesn't have range, but he has improved his free throw percentage. He actually had the second best free throw percentage of his career last year at 71%. So it does look like he is definitely working on his post up game, his shot, at least in the short area around the paint. He's never going to be your 3-pointer, but that's what I think is that they bring different skill sets. DeAndre brings that former all defensive player of the year, all NBA defensive player of the year kind of mentality, along with Boogie's admittedly limited athleticism compared to what he had earlier in his career, but he still can get up, he can still play defense, he can still get rebounds. And those two guys around the rim, when Jokic is off the floor, you're not scoring points. Like
no,
I don't see. And then also you got Bruce Brown and maybe even KCP if he's out on the floor with them. So I really like DeAndre Jordan more as a power forward, especially at this point of his career, and then having Boogie as the backup center, and then that way you have Boogie behind Joker, you have Jordan behind Gordon, you have KCP and Bruce Brown to just be kind of interchangeable. You got Bones behind Jamal. I mean, really, how does it get better than that?
Where are we putting
I mean,
MPJ? Did you put MPJ in
and
there?
I'm sorry, and MPJ, excuse me, damn my voice. MPJ is obviously there, and then you have behind him Davon Reed. You got KCP and Bruce Brown can also slide over into that spot if necessary to give him a break or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get better than what this roster is set up to do.
So how does this affect? As last week was the draft show, how does this affect some of these new draft picks with Christian Brown and his role? Which I think honestly, when he was drafted, I thought he was going to be a guy who would have taken a, a Bruce Brown type of role, knowing the fact of how NBA ready he is. But now since you get Bruce Brown, who obviously you saw what he did for the Nets in the playoffs, even though they got swept, he was able to put some good numbers up, which is the reason why he got paid. If you bring Bruce Brown in, where does that put Christian Brown in? Where does it put who is the other draft pick? Well, I think Christian Brown
Peyton
was the only
Watson,
NBA ready
yeah,
guy.
he was
He
the
was the
only
only NBA.
NBA ready guy.
So
Yeah. So
what
really,
does it
just
do
take
with
minutes
Christian
away from
Brown?
him. You let him. You kind of do what you did with Bones Highland this year. You just kind of let him feel his way. You take all the pressure off of him. He no longer has to be the guy. He just gets to go out and learn how to be an NBA player.
Yeah.
And he has the perfect mentors to teach him. He's got KCP, he's got Bruce Brown, he's got Davon Reed. The list goes on for when it comes to veterans and mentors for the kids. So I think it's actually better for him. Like, yes, was Christian Brown defensively NBA ready? Without a doubt. But there is a lot in his offensive game. There's still a lot of holes there that I think taking the pressure off of him from having to have to score 20 or so points, nightly to now, you can just go out there and work on your shot. You can take that 3-pointer and not worry if I miss it, am I going to cost my team the game because I'm just out here for minutes. So I
Well,
honestly think it's a good thing for them. And like we said, Peyton Watson and Ishmael Kamagate, they weren't playing in the NBA this year anyways.
yeah, and I like. I agree with you that it is actually a good thing, especially with Bruce Brown, who came in the league the same way as Christian Brown, solely for defensive purpose. Came in. That's the reason why they got drafted. They were on the NBA level defensively. The offensive game was
Oh,
not
shiz.
at that level.
Sorry. Look at that. Look
Just
at
now,
that.
just now.
This just happened. Yeah. So, Dre, I appreciate you, brother.
That's
That's
crazy.
insane.
It's
That's
insane
insane.
because I don't feel like Darius Garland has been in the league for that long, and he's
Like,
already
I didn't think he's been around long enough to get that.
yeah,
But,
like
I
he
mean,
been 2 years. Is it? Well, they do things differently in Cleveland. They hire. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna say it. You know what they do in Cleveland on the football and basketball side of operations. Yeah,
yeah,
so
we all know.
but I'm not bashing Darius Garland. He's actually balled out this year, but I didn't know you could only ball out for 1 year and get a $200 million max
I got to
contract.
see. What season is he in? That's insane. This
Uh,
this NBA free agent, like I swear, they looked at the NFL free agency with all the movement of all the quarterbacks and everything like that, and they're like, "Dope, hold my
nah,
beer.
yeah,
We
yeah,
got to do
exactly,
even crazier shit."
exactly. And I think the most overrated statement is Nikola. He obviously got the that supermax that broke, I think, a record, the highest contract in NBA history. That's such an
Right.
overstatement because next year and 2 years, someone's going to be due money and they're going to break that record. So it's all
Yup.
about the inflation of the economy. It's all
Yeah.
about everything getting
Yeah.
bigger. So
Oh
I
yeah.
honestly, I think it's to the point to where that statement doesn't even need to be said because it's just so, in my eyes,
Yeah, like
irrelevant.
dude, the next only until the next super max is signed.
Yeah,
Because especially in the NBA, like in the NFL, you can have a guy sign a contract and it'll be the richest contract for, a couple years. But literally next year, the next guy up for the super max is going to beat that record. It's
yeah.
like it's insane because it's the max. It's why it's
that,
called a
that
super max.
that's gonna
It's because
be
it's the
the
max you can give them.
that's always the first thing those guys say too when they're due for their contract.
Yes.
Well, how much is the most player getting paid right now? I want more than that. And it's just like a domino effect. You know what I mean? The next guy's gonna say that, and the next guy. Everyone wants more than the other person.
Yeah. And I mean, in the NBA, there's no real negotiation of contracts when you're a superstar.
Yeah,
When you're
no
getting
doubt.
those supermax, it's just the deal's already there. There might be like some little like lawyer lingo here and there that might be different, but the contract terms are just what the contract terms are. It's just like with the NFL with rookies on their rookie deals. There's no negotiations done anymore from the NBA from the NFL draft. It's just the contracts are what the contracts are. Whatever slot you're selected on, that's the contract you're going to get.
Yeah.
And with the NBA, it's the same thing, but not with draft picks. It's just with all of their contracts. It's just the way that they work with their salary cap.
Oh yeah, it is different, but and it's funny because you see all these NBA, NFL, MLB contracts. Oh, and happy late Bobby Bonilla Day to everyone.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
happy late Bobby Bonilla Day. I
All
forgot
y'all
that.
in New York, gotta love
You're a
that holiday.
you're a baseball guy, so I had to tell you. I had
Yes,
to tell
I
you. But
appreciate it.
all these contracts, it's so ridiculous because you see some of the Avs players. I think almost every Avalanche player just won the championship, just had a parade, and a lot of these dudes are getting. I think like their best players getting 1 year, $1 million contracts. Or like
Let's
making
look
$1
on
million
that.
a year, I should say.
Yeah, that's the lowest. Yeah, Gabriel Landeskog is the highest paid Avalanche, and he just got paid a little over $9 million. So
And see,
it
that's
depends, but yeah,
ridiculous.
that's the high end, $9 million.
Bruce
That's
Brown,
what
Bruce Brown's making $9 million. Like, you know what I
exactly.
mean? And Bruce Brown is, I'm not bashing his NBA
No,
resume, but is he, he's probably probably the fifth or sixth best Nuggets player on this team, and Gabriel Landeskog is the best player, or not the best player, but he's the captain of his team
one or two.
at least,
Yeah.
and he's, NHL players are completely underpaid.
Yes. Yes. But I mean, it's also because they are the least grossing league
Yeah,
in America.
yeah.
NBA is the third highest grossing, and it's also why football contracts are insane and baseball contracts are insane. The highest grossing is the NFL at over $12 billion a year. Then the next closest is MLB. Surprisingly enough, yes, Major League Baseball is the second highest grossing.
Surprisingly enough.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
make just under $10 billion a year for the MLB. So that's why their contracts are exorbitant. The NHL is like way down
low,
here
yeah, way below.
at like $5 billion. Like they make half of what baseball makes, let alone football.
And,
So
and it's
yeah,
ridiculous because if you sit and watch a hockey game, at least if you know what's going on, or at least know some what's going on, it's probably the most badass sport at all
it
for,
is.
to be honest
It
with
really
you.
is.
I know we love football, baseball is America's pastime. The NBA is such a fast, rapid pace game and so much flair to it. But if you watch an NHL hockey game, bro, you see some of those dudes flying. You cannot tell me that these guys don't have skill. You see Nathan McKinnon go from one goal to the next and moving the puck back and forth, looking like he's chopping
At
up meat
30
at
plus
Benihana.
miles an hour. Dudes
Going crazy, bro.
breaking the law in school zones. Like that's
Yeah.
how fast these fools are going. They would break the law in school zones.
Bro,
Fast
ridiculous.
they're on these skates.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right, I don't even know where we're at anymore, man. We just
You're
kind of went
good.
off the rails.
We went from Darius Garland all the way over here because But speaking of, Darius Garland has been in the league for 3 years, so he just barely became eligible for the Supermax. And I think they got him this way because Garland, I think he's really talented. He could even potentially be like on that MVP level. So I think that's what they were thinking. Like, hey, we get him now on the Supermax before he wins any of these escalators like MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, or things of that nature that rise that Supermax contract. So like, let's get him here now before he wins any of those awards, and that way we pay him the minimum of what a superstar is. That's my only assumption because, like I said, he just became eligible for a Supermax this offseason.
Do you have his numbers right in front of you?
The numbers of the contract? Not
No,
yet.
numbers of his stats of last year.
His stats. Yes, I do. Last year he shot 38% from three. He had 89% from the free throw line, 46% from the field, averaged 21.7 points, 1.3 steals, 8.6 assists, and 3 rebounds. So he almost averaged a double-double.
Man, it's crazy to me because Darius Garland is 21 years old. These dudes are very relatively young. And we were talking about it last week where they need to stop having this 1 year eligibility rule, and these dudes are ready to jump in the league. It almost seems like, and just ball like crazy, And it's funny because a guy like Devin Booker, who's 24, 25, been in the league for like 7 years, and you forget to remember, like, damn, these guys come in the league literally at 18, 19 years old, and they get all those years of development. By the time they seem like they're hitting their prime and they're flourishing, they've been in the league for already 7 to 8 years, and you don't even realize it. You think they're just starting things, but these guys
Right.
have been working on their game for damn near almost a whole decade, and they're still in their mid 20s.
Right. It's. I mean, the way that sports culture has taken over America, because of the fact we are a developed nation, like there's a reason why America has so many organized sports, is because we don't have anything else to do with our time. We don't have wars to fight. We don't have, civil injustices to fight, even though we're trying to create them. But I digress. We won't go down that road today. Um,
Mm-mm,
but
mm-mm.
I mean, that's really what it is because we have nothing else to do. So
Yeah.
it allows these things to thrive. And it's just kind of the byproduct of us being a lazy, fat nation. We just
Oh,
end
it
up giving
is.
these 21-year-olds ridiculous deals, and kids are jumping on the field at 4 or 5 years old, getting brain damage for our
No.
entertainment.
What always makes me laugh is when there's those curmudgeon, misgruntled people when like all the athletes I make way too much money, way too much, and it's like,
Right.
well, of course they do because do you know how many people pay for this? I'm pretty sure one of those misgruntled like people are a fan of folk music. What do angry people like? What kind of music do angry people like? Like
I don't know.
weird country, uh,
Death metal.
Hootie and the Blowfish.
I don't know how angry you can be listening to Hootie and the Blowfish, though.
But you know what I mean? You see, and I'm pretty sure whatever death metal, say you like Metallica, I don't know. I don't know any death metal bands. You like
I don't either.
Metallica.
So,
You're paying money to go to their concerts. I'm pretty sure Rockstar's making as much as an athlete. So to make those stupid comments,
yes.
kind of practice what you preach, because if you have talent, you're going to be rewarded for it. Don't be mad because you have this underachieving, below average talent. Oh, to make too much money. And get the hell out of here with that bullcrap.
Right. The most angering thing about that is it's usually the same people that scream about capitalism, that
Yeah,
scream about meritocracies. Like, dude, you're literally complaining about what you want. Like, he merited that contract, so he got it. He
yeah,
earned that contract. It doesn't matter if you think the contract is exorbitant. That's what the market value is. That's how capitalism works. Whatever you're willing to pay for something, that's what it's worth. That's
yeah,
how capitalism works. And so if it's $20 million for a dude to dunk a basketball, that's what he's worth. You don't get to judge it.
yeah. And Zion, I think you talking about dudes dunking basketballs. Zion, I think just got paid too, which I think is a
Yes.
risky move from the Pelicans. He hasn't
Oh,
played a whole year, and you're gonna throw him that money. I think he's still uh, another year. They could have waited. Some
at
what the
least.
Baltimore Ravens are doing with Lamar. They should have done that. Yeah, Lamar's an exceptional talent, but how long is that gonna last? You don't want to pay him and he gets hurt, and it's the same with Zion. You don't want to end up paying him, and then now he has this same kind of injury in the same area with his foot, or it's his Achilles, or knock on wood. Hopefully, it's not that bad, but it's just a very bad injury, and you've already paid this man, and now you're just
Fully
looking,
guaranteed.
fully guaranteed. Crazy, bro. Fully guaranteed. And the
Yes.
Pelicans are on the right. They have a good roster. I think them
Yes.
paying Zion right now kind of messes a lot of things up because it's just the risk that they're taking.
Right. I mean, maybe they're having the same thoughts like what I was just talking about with Darius Garland. He hasn't won any awards yet, so all those escalators haven't kicked in. So maybe get him on the Supermax deal now because, yeah, you're paying him 30, $40 million, whatever it is right now. But if you wait that year or two and he does win that MVP or he does do those things, all of a sudden, instead of 30 to 40 million, you're paying 50 to 60 million per year. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
maybe that's the thought process, and like maybe we can use that extra 10 to 20 million dollars per year to help fill out this roster or sign one of these other stars that we have, or one of these other young budding stars that are on this roster. So maybe that's the thought process. But I've said this since that draft. I pounded the table. I screamed. I yelled. The number one overall pick should have been Ja Morant. No questions asked.
Without a doubt. Without a
Without a doubt.
doubt.
Like what
I
were y'all
think
thinking? I knew his body was, and I said it. I called it. I said it's not because Zion's not number one worthy. It's because his body is too damn big
yeah.
for him to be that explosive. You
You know,
can't be that big and live above the rim like that.
I think what a lot of scouts saw with Ja is he's a he's
He's
undersized.
tiny.
He's a
Yeah, he's
tiny guy,
tiny.
and he can ball though. Still,
Ignorance.
he can still ball.
AI was tiny.
He was tiny, but the thing is, that those guys, how many championship rings did Allen Iverson win? You know,
Was that really AI's fault though?
is it any small guy's fault though? You know what I mean? Is it,
No, I'm just
if
saying,
John Morant?
look at who AI had around him.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
he
understand it.
never really had a championship roster. I don't
But
think AI didn't win championships because AI was tiny. AI didn't win championships because he had an inept front
he
office.
had an in-depth front office, yeah. But I think that 07, 08 Nuggets team, that could have done a little playoff run. I feel if the Nuggets were a little
They
more
could have, but I
mature.
mean, AI was old at that point, man.
he,
That's like Peyton Manning in 2015, bro. He
uh,
was just kind of there.
AI was putting 50. He had a couple 50-point performances.
I mean, he
But
did, but I mean,
my,
Peyton Manning had some good games in 2015
my,
too. You know,
my point being though is teams, they don't want to take that much of a risk on small players as much as they do with other guys. I mean, yeah, maybe you might be right saying, oh, it wasn't AI's fault, but a lot of these owners, they would rather go with the big guy. They'd rather build around the big guy. 95% of these owners will say that, and that other small 5% of the guys who, take a risk on Allen Iverson, take a risk on a John Morant. I'm not saying small guys can't win championships, but the mentality of a lot of these GMs and owners is we'd rather go get our big pick and roll guys and our big, wings with the long wingspan before we worry about our point guard.
yeah, and I think and that's like the trope that creates this circle of disrespect, because when you have guys like this, they don't go to the Bostons or the
Yeah.
LA Lakers or the Miami. They go to the Memphis. They go to Minnesota, and so they end up on these small market teams with these ridiculously bad front offices. And
Yeah.
so the trope is that the little guy can't win, when the fact is that nobody that are in a championship city will take a risk on the small guy. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Outside of really like and Kobe's not small, but he was a little bit of a smaller guy when you're talking about NBA players. That
Yeah.
like
Well,
he's the unicorn.
yeah, he wasn't NBA ready, Kobe, when he was drafted, and there's a lot of guys like that. See, John Morant, he was NBA ready day one, and he didn't have an NBA body. He just had straight nothing but talent. Now he has a lot of talent with those Twitter fingers too, which is the one thing that kind of bugs me because and I can't hate on it. He's born in my generation. I know my generation, they love
Hey man,
the technology. I'm not one of them, but they love the technology. They love social media, so I can't blame him. He's a product of his time. But I really think John Morant still has the it factor that can carry that Memphis team in general. I gave you a
yes,
stat a while back that the Miami Hurricanes from the NCAA tournament, they had a younger average of lineup
yes,
than the Memphis Grizzlies did, and the Grizzlies I think went to the semifinals, or was it the conference finals they made? I think it was the
second
semifinals,
round,
second
yeah,
round.
semifinals,
And for
yeah.
them to go, and then they had some good performances against the Warriors. The team
They
altogether
pushed
is,
the
is
Warriors.
phenomenal. And
Yeah,
I think John Morant, yeah, he can make a title run. But I just think at the time when Ja was drafted number 2, there was all this so much hype around Zion Williamson, how he was the second coming of LeBron James, and Ja put himself in that position when he had a good tournament run. But a lot of people were still saying he's still a small guy. He's not going to be able to finish among the trees in the paint, and he's completely proven everyone wrong.
bro, jawbreakers all day.
Yeah, I like
Homeboy,
that.
homeboy
I like
crushing,
that.
homeboy crushing every jaw, breaking them, snapping them. I mean, dude, yeah, I love jaw, and I saw that coming out of college, and I was just so disrespectful to see people just because that's the literal only thing that any scout, any pundit had to say when they were talking about Ja Morant. It was never, oh, Ja doesn't have talent. oh, Ja can't shoot. No, it was never any of those things. It was, well, Ja's so small. How is he, like you said, how is he going to see through the tree? How is he going to see the forest through the trees?
Mhm.
And it's been the complete opposite. Zion can't stay on the court, just like I said, because again, the man's 300 pounds. When you're 300 pounds, you should not have an above 4-inch 40. Like you should
Bro,
not be leaving
bro,
any more than it takes for your foot to do this.
I feel like Zion Williamson is like a character from Guardian of the Galaxy that one of the writers
Yes,
made, and he ended up just
yes,
popping out of nowhere, bro. He's a freak of nature. With all due respect, he's a freak of nature,
yes.
bro. To be that big, I mean, we said the same thing about
It's
Shaq when he
insane.
played. To be that
Yes,
big and run the court that fast and to have that athletic ability, bro. When you're 6'7", almost 300 pounds, your ass ain't even
right.
supposed. You're supposed to be clumsy as hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Almost falling over every step. There's no way you should be moving like Rey
exactly.
Mysterio out there.
You're supposed to be breathing heavy because you took the donut off the plate, bro. Like that's you ain't supposed to be dunking on them hoes. You're supposed to be
Oh,
dunking the Oreos. Like
oh, bro.
it doesn't it
Oh
doesn't
my
make
God.
any damn sense. He is a cartoon character.
I
Like
don't
he
even know
is a
where.
creative player.
I don't
And
know
it's
where this
insane,
show
like to
went.
think about. Right, I know. But like to think about it, like at 300 pounds, he would be the heaviest player in the NBA,
Yeah,
but 9 inches shorter than the next heaviest guy.
yeah.
Like that's the disproportionateness of his body. Like I hope that everything that's come out this offseason, that he's in the greatest shape of his life, that he's finally cut, that he's got himself a chef and all that because he signed that supermax. I hope all of that's
He
true because
needs a
I
chef.
love Zion.
He
He
needs
does.
a chef.
He
And
does.
he
And
got hire
all of
Rachel
those
Ray,
things.
somebody.
He
Yes, he
needs to
needs
start
someone,
doing
bro.
what LeBron do with that 1.5 million being spent
Oh,
on chefs
hey,
and suits and all that.
that's one of my reasons why I always say LeBron James is not the GOAT, or however, with debate, we can get into that later. But what was he got all this money he spends on hyperbaric chambers. He takes care of his body. I think he has like a less than 1% body fat. And freaking Michael Jordan's out there smoking Black and Mild, just drinking cognac, gambling till 4 in the
Right,
morning, and like
right.
6-0 in the championship. Like, that's
Dennis
why,
Rodman disappearing in the middle of the night to run to Vegas
bro,
and get some prostitutes and hit the slot machines and then
bro,
return the next day and win a championship. Like they
they're
built
built
different
different.
back then,
They're
bro.
built different, and no, all due respect to LeBron, he's doing the right thing, taking care of his body. But that's just you cannot. That's real king stuff right there.
Yes,
Be partying all night, then go play a professional
bro.
game against some of the best athletes the world has to offer, and go kick some ass, and then go do it all over again.
And
LeBron
be the
couldn't do that.
greatest of all time while
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I say that debate's over right there. We don't got to bring no stats, no nothing.
Done.
Just talk about the daily routine and what they were doing.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you tell me who your GOAT is. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I agree. I agree. Shut it down right there. Homeboy's sitting in the locker room hitting a stogie before he goes out and drops 50, bro. Like it's like you said, just
Uh,
built different, bro. They just
you
built
know,
different. It's
some
not the same.
there might be something in it. So Scotty Pippen, stay away. You ain't made for this. Right? You ain't made for this. I,
Oh
I I
yeah.
think Jordan laced him. You never saw him sharing a cigar. He was taking that
Damn
to the
sure could.
face.
All the way down, all the way down to the nub, bro. And I see a couple people just jumped in. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. If y'all want to go ahead and hit that like button, we would truly appreciate it. It's your first time here. We love you, appreciate you. Hope you come back. Hit that subscribe and the bell. That way you know every time we go live. And real quick, before we go, is there any other moves that you expect to see or want to see as we go forward?
Well, the move I'm excited of, and we didn't get to it today. We kind of went in our own universe for a little
It's
bit
all right.
for about 20, but we didn't get to it today. But the signing of, not the signing, but the addition to the summer league roster of MPJ's brother, Jonte Porter. Oh, I tweeted it out yesterday. How fun would that be? Well, we were talking about having two of the Jalen Williams guys on the team. We didn't get it. The OKC got it. But to have MPJ's little brother join the squad, I mean, how fun would that be? MPJ's one of your team's best players, one of the NBA's young rising stars. To add his brother, that would be something that I think a lot of fans would look forward to.
I agree. And just real quick, I do still have the graphic here. So this is the summer league roster and schedule right there at the bottom.
That Bruce
You'll
Willis.
see
That's like Bruce Willis.
Bryce. That's
Oh,
close, but Bryce Wills. Bryce Wills.
man. Bruce Willis out here giving another go. Huh?
Right.
And have a
He's just
60-year-old man on the court
what was that?
kicking ass.
What was that movie he was in where they had the clones?
Uh,
Surrogate. There we go. He's got a
all right,
surrogate now.
all right. I haven't seen that one. I thought you were talking about Fifth Element. Fifth Element. That
Yeah.
was one of my
That
favorites.
is a good one. That is a good one. But yeah, no, Surrogate's a newer one where like the whole world has avatars as
Yeah.
clones, and like they just run the world essentially. It's
All
crazy
right.
shit. But
Hopefully we get
almost blew.
Bryce Willis. Hopefully we get him because I will be having a ball with that name,
I'm sure you will.
bro.
But let's see where. Yeah, Jonte Porter. God, how big is that family? A forward that's 6'10", 236 pounds, out of Missouri, Team USA.
Damn, 6'10",
That's
2, and so he's a little chiseled, but today's basketball, it's all positionless. So wherever
Yep.
he plays the best at, I mean, hell, you could probably put a MPJ at shooting guard. He's 6'9". It doesn't
exactly.
even matter if it gets the job done. It's a positionless game now. You see the death lineup the Warriors run. So hey, if Jonte can make the team, that'd be a little a fun fan favorite, if you'd say.
Yeah,
Have the
definitely.
Nuggets
I
ever
think
had any two brothers play on the same at the same time?
not that I can remember. I'd have to do some research, but off the top of my head, I can't remember
Yeah.
anybody,
Well,
any brother tandem. But
I'm
that would be a lot of fun. That
there
would
was
be a lot of
never
fun.
a brother tandem or a brother duo in any Colorado sports that I could remember, at least.
Yes, there has been
There has?
in the Rockies minor league system. There's been some like cousins, like the Fuentes,
And
and the
Nolan.
Arenados. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of like I think that there were brothers on the Broncos like in the 90s somewhere. I want to say like they had some like twins or something, kind of like the Patriots had with the McCourty brothers. I have to do some research. That's a good one. We'll do that for next time. Any brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
I got
got
you. Brother duos
brother
in
duo.
Colorado sports. Brother
And not
duos in Colorado sports.
nothing from
great
like
topic.
the Colorado Outlaws or teams like that, like the four major ones at least,
Yeah, the four majors.
Uh,
Yeah, Broncos, Rockies, Avs, Nuggets.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll save that then, man.
We will definitely say that. We'll put a pin in that one right there, and we are right at an hour. So I'm going to go real quick. The only move I want to see done, if it's necessary, is giving Boogie Cousins the mid-level exception that they have left. If they could do that, I think this roster is set. I think it's perfect the way that it is at that point. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll get to see Boogie back, but you will always see us back right here on the Answers 42 Media Network on Nug Life's podcast, Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Me and my boy, Santiago Salazar, will be here talking Nuggets for y'all. As always, for the Answers 42 Media Network and Nug Life podcast, I am your host, Dan Wetstein. That's Santiago Salazar. And don't question the blue ever in your life.